So for you, I know you said you build and force appreciation. First off, how'd you kind of get your foot in the door for the first couple investments? Since they are higher dollar amounts, you're going to have to put more down. And then how do you force appreciation on those properties?
Yeah, everything changed in 2020 when California changed the law to make ADUs. They passed a law that made it easier to build housing because we have such a housing crisis here. Governor Newsom created this law in 2020 where you could build ADUs, where you could convert your garages or build brand new houses on your single family lot or multifamily lot. And that's what really opened our doors to investing that way, because it's the barrier of entry to invest in LA is difficult. You have to have a lot of money down. You're competing with a lot of people, and a lot of times they don't cash flow. So what we used is that we started building. We started building our primary, and we did our first BRRRR in 2019. And that's what really opened up our eyes. Okay, we could do this. We could replicate this. We added 2,000 square feet on our primary house, and we did the refi, and we cashed out. We got the money we invested and more, and our house appreciated significantly. So really, the biggest thing in LA that people building is difficult. But the thing is that it costs about $250 a square foot for me to build a brand new house. The resale value and the rent value goes up. So you're selling in properties like these for $600 to $800 a square foot. So you're getting instantly, as soon as you're done building, $600 dollars in equity per square foot. So if you build 1,000 square feet, you invest $250,000. You could sell that for essentially $600,000 right there for if it sells for $600 square foot, and you'll get $400,000 in equity. So it's like simple math, but it's not that simple as well. But the equity is there, and that's where really building hasn't caught up with the equity. And I know eventually with inflation, it will cost more to build, but right now that's our play, and that's what we're throwing our money at right now, building.
Wow, that's incredible. Just the difference between building and then ending up selling it. So would you say that, first off, in California, in the markets that you're specifically investing in, you have to go for appreciation rather than cash flow? Do you think that you could specifically, bank on cash flow, or do you really have to try and force that appreciation?
It's very hard to find any property that cash flows in Los Angeles. Very difficult. You're looking at cap rates. You're looking at multifamilies. You're looking at cap rates at 3.2, 3.4%. If you're looking at the A class, B plus class areas, which I invest in. So really our approach is we buy as long as it breaks even. If it breaks even, we look at a large lot and we look at where we can build. Do they have a big garage? Do they have a lot of land? And then we build there. And that's our cash flow. That it's a 2-year process, but the cash flow is significant. And whatever money you invest, you could just refinance and get it back, because whatever you build, you're going to build in equity significantly once you're done.
Wow. Okay. No, that makes perfect sense, because in your market, it's so expensive that you need to find a place that break even. And then you plan on building an ADU or two. I know we're going to get into a deal with yours where you're doing two, and then that alone will bring in your cash flow. I think that's awesome. So have you been pretty much doing that from the first property that you got and rolling it into the next property? So you take cash out and just go do the next one?
Yes, correct. Yeah. So I use that money and just recycle. The properties we have, we're maximizing ADUs as much as possible. We have to figure out, sometimes we have tenants and we have to take away the garages. So we have to pay them for the garages because LA rent control is a little strict here. But yeah, we're maximizing as much as we can. How we fund our construction is a little creative as well. We do everything on our own. We do conventional financing to buy. And we take HELOCs on our primary property as our construction fund. So our second property, we have our third primary now, but our second primary, when we're living there, we took a $700,000 equity line on that property. So when I say you build equity when you build, we took a $700,000 equity line. We did a cash out refi of $360K, and we did that $700K equity line is still with us, and that's what we build with. So we use that, we build interest only payments. So our project that we just finished in January took us about a year. It cost us about it cost us about $412 because we rehabbed the existing house. But the payments I paid on that for the whole year was around $6,000. Once I refinanced that house out, I paid off my equity line, and now I'm going to repeat the process again.
Do you use commercial financing or do you use like conventional?
Conventional.
Or commercial,
Conventional.
Okay, yeah, conventional. Got you.
I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I'm gonna have to jump into the commercial with this property that we're starting in June because we're gonna make it 5 units. But as long as it's under 4 units, we can still do conventional. And since I have a W-2 job, it helps me get the financing. If I didn't have a W-2 job, that's where it becomes a little bit more difficult getting that kind of financing.
Yeah. So when you build these ADUs, right? First off, do you rent them to, long term, short term, and then secondly, what's the standard? Like, what's the market standard for how nice that property is? You put in like luxury vinyl plank. Like, what are the finishes like in there as well?
Yeah, so we actually go pretty upscale in our rentals. We build it like if we lived there. And a lot of people are actually anti this, but if you look at the market, we invest in Burbank. It's a high-end area. It's growing. It appreciates a lot, but the rentals there are very badly done. They have carpet, old bathrooms. What we do to really set ourselves aside, we put glass doors, vinyl flooring, really nice kitchens, really nice design. Instead of us doing stucco on the outside, we do paneling in the front to really make it attractive. And we usually all the finishes are very well done. My wife designs the properties. And we quickly, as soon as we put them for rent, we get 20, 30 people interested in renting. And we rent them at 90% of the market. So we rent them at the highest of what the market is.
Okay, so when you rent these, so first off, how many bedrooms are in these ADUs? Is it just an efficiency?
So it depends on the square footage. Every city has different requirements. So we converted a garage, which is a 1-bedroom, and then we just built a brand new house, and we finished that in January. That was 1,000 square feet, and that was a 3-bedroom. So those are very tight bedrooms if you think about 1,000 square feet. But bedrooms make a big difference wherever you go. Like an additional bedroom, even if it's a 10 by 10, makes a huge difference. And that's where staging really helps as well. As long as you stage it well, you can really show the potential tenant of how it looks.
So when you go and do, put it in, what's the difference between a 2-bedroom and a 3-bedroom in that market?
Oh, you're talking significant. You're talking about every bedroom's $1,000. That's how I usually put it. Every bedroom you add is $1,000 a month. And then if you STR that and you do an Airbnb, you're talking about $2,000 difference. We just started. We just jumped into the STR Airbnb business a couple months ago, and it's opened up our eyes to how to diversify these multifamilies and use Airbnb in a different way.
Gotcha. Okay, so right now, specifically long-term tenants, and you're starting to kick in some short-term rentals where you can.
Yeah.
Okay,
Correct.
And do you self-manage?
Yeah. Self-manage, we do. We actually are going to be branching out. We do property management, self-management. We're actually going to, we had to fire our previous property manager because we didn't like how they manage it. No one manages better than us. So we're actually going to bring an employee underneath our belt and train them how to do it and manage them ourselves and have that person do the property management. This person specifically does this as a full-time job. So we're going to hire them on the side with their knowledge and just have them as employee where they benefit, get a 1099, and they build their business as well. So we're branching out that way so we have more control of the people that are managing our properties because it's very important that we maintain them. We invest a lot of money in keeping them up to par and up to 90% of the standard of what the market is, but we want to make sure we sustain that as well.
Nice. Yeah, I had someone on the podcast, a couple weeks ago, and they said the same thing, that they're actually bringing someone in-house. They're going to train them themselves, which, like you made it perfect point, which is no one's going to manage it better than yourself. So if you kind of install the values of how you manage something into this person that's never managed a property for you, they're going to do it somewhat closer to you than some other company will that has their own ways, stuck in their own ways. So I think that's very cool. So how do you plan about going in as far as interviewing for one, and then also what kind of person you're looking for that?
Yeah, we're looking at someone with experience because we don't want necessarily teach them because we're not experienced in property management. Yeah, we do it, but really laws, especially in California, change so much. It's very lawyer friendly, sue friendly. So the person we got works in property management. They have inspiration to build their own business. So we basically, it benefits both. Okay, we'll 1099 you. You build your business with us. We plan to continue growing. So essentially, they're going to be partnership with us as we go forward.
Gotcha. No, that sounds great. So moving forward, I know you said that you have kind of a goal to get 4 more properties this year, 4 more next year. Yeah. Are they all that same way of building ADUs? And what's kind of your plan with that?
Yeah, so it's going to be, since we started the Airbnb 2 months ago, it's really changed our mind a lot about our investment strategy. Multifamily, and before I go into that too, the ADU law stops in 2025. So we have to figure out, okay, how do we sustain this? We want to build as much as we can until 2025. There's a lot of rumors that will probably continue because there's still a housing deficit, but we work around what's currently in place. So we plan to continue buying in multifamilies, but we're also looking at Airbnb STRs. So we're looking at buying 2 STRs this year. And that's short-term rentals, Airbnb rentals, just to build the cash flow. Because the most difficult part about this kind of investing is that your money's held up for such a long time. You have to leave 25% down to purchase the property, 20 to 25% down to purchase it. And then eventually a year after you get the plans approved, you're going to probably spend 300, 500K after. So your money's tied, a good 500,000 is tied for 2 years, which makes it very difficult. So that's why we're going to start throwing in STRs in our investing, just to give us cash flow and keep us going. So we're changing as we go, really our investment strategy.
Yeah, I think that's so important because, a lot of people think that a pivot is a step back in your investment journey and your business, but it's really not. A pivot, just because you have a plan starting out the year, things change. Like you said, laws change. And I think it's very important to know that it's okay to take a pivot to benefit your business and benefit yourself. So I think that's huge right there. Why don't you tell people just that don't know, what is an ADU?
So an ADU is an accessory dwelling unit. It's a new law that started in 2020. It was actually before permitted, but very restricted. So if you build an ADU law, you had to show that you live there. You had to provide additional parking. And in Los Angeles, lots are very small. You don't have that many lots because we're so dense here. So this new ADU law makes it much more easier to build. So you could build, the setbacks for you to build are only 4 feet from the property line, 4 feet from a dwelling. And you can convert garages. You can actually add on to your existing property, convert part of your existing property into an ADU. So there's so many different avenues of creating ADUs. You could build a 2-story ADU. You could build one on top of your garage. So these are all additional units. So basically ADU is accessory dwelling unit. It's additional house you could build. And you could build that on your single family or on a multifamily. So on a single family, they let you build a junior ADU and an ADU. A junior ADU has to be under 500 square feet, and an ADU could be 1,000 to 1,200 square feet. The best part about this ADU law is that if you buy a multifamily, you could build 2 ADUs and sometimes a junior ADU, so 3 ADUs. And if you have enough units, so say if you have an 8-unit property, they give you a bonus. So every 4 units, you get an additional ADU. So you could, if you have an 8-unit, you could build 4 units and junior ADU sometimes, but usually 4 units. So there's so many benefits if you have more units to this law. And that's why we moved into the multifamily, because the barrier to entry is so hard that I'd rather get a bigger lot where I could build more and get the equity there.
No, that is so interesting, because I didn't know you buy an 8-unit, you have the capital to go ahead and build 4. Now you have a 12-unit. And, like you're saying, that's where you make your cash flow, is off of the ADUs, not necessarily the main properties that are there. So with ADUs and building them, let's say you did get an 8-unit or something like that, and you build 4, what's the parking lot, or what's the parking like? Like, do you have troubles with that?
Yeah, so I'm still learning on this. So I overbuilt on one of them. So I took advantage. I basically told my architect, build as much as you can. So on the property we just built, literally there's only 2 parking spaces, and there's a 4-bedroom, a 3-bedroom, and a 1-bedroom. So there's probably a good 12 people living there, and they're parking on the street. And this is probably why I don't think the law is going to get extended, because people like myself that overbuilt there, were adding a lot more parking spaces on the street. But that's the law's flexible, and that's where really you could take away all the parking and just have people park in the street and just build units. And I always have people criticize me, well, who would want to rent that? I'm like, well, if you drop the price low enough, they'll rent it. Maybe $100 less than what the market is, but they'll rent it because there's a need right now. And if you build it nicely, people will take it because there's not a lot of nice rentals out there in Los Angeles. There's a lot of old rentals, not well kept, bad property management. So this is a market that a lot of people aren't getting into, and I'm taking advantage of the